10. Stockpile food and water. The normal individual consumes among 1.5 and 3,000 calories per day, yet without nourishment, the body starts to break down. Dying from hunger is awful, and it can take upwards of 70 days. Be that as it may, without fluids, drying out will prompt demise in only 3 or 4. Be sure to store a few months of canned and dried out nourishment per individual. Military portions pack a huge amount of calories and have a time frame of realistic usability of as long as 5 years. So get a few in the event that you can. You'll require enough water for at any rate 14 days, however ideally 4. A large portion of a gallon daily for one individual is about right. If you come up short on the new stuff, you can sterilize water from a flawed source by bubbling it or including a bit of iodine or bleach. There's likewise an incredible innovation called the life straw, which you can use to drink water legitimately from a debased source. The straw channels water as it goes through. I suggest getting a few and keeping him on hand. 9. Buy essential tools on the off chance that the plague you're endeavoring to endure is more regrettable than the Black Death. There's a decent possibility society will take a short time to refocus subsequent to everything subsides. All things considered, if history's shown us anything, it's that anybody can surrender to ailment, including rulers, presidents, despots, and the person who rings you up at the supermarket. If a major segment of the populace vanishes rapidly, you'll need to battle for yourself, and that implies you're going to require some tools. Imagine searching for nourishment, however, or you find a bolted and void houses. On the off chance that you have a crowbar, you don't have anything to stress over. Furthermore, there's nothing amiss with breaking into a relinquished home while attempting to endure an apocalypse. You'll additionally need to have a standard arrangement of devices in a tool compartment. In particular, it ought to incorporate a sledge, screwdriver set, a wrench, and a multi-tool. 8. Get yourself some weapons. Survivalists are notable for storing firearms and ammunition, and not only for chasing. On the off chance that the most exceedingly awful occurs, and enough beyond words will disintegrate and collapse after that occurs, life will look a ton like a dystopian film, and you're going to need to battle for yourself. When zombies begin strolling about, they'll slaughter you and your entire family for a generous dinner and a protected spot to remain. Your best protection is a decent offense, and that implies you'll require weapons. Shotguns are incredible at chasing fowls, but at the same time they're perfect for lacking elbow room battle. A rifle is required for chasing greater creatures, so get one with a decent degree. Lastly, guns. They're little, simple to utilize, and have incredible halting force. I'd likewise propose you get a book on chasing and cleaning animals, if you don't approach weapons because of neighborhood laws. A blade or crossbow is additionally extraordinary at chasing and protecting yourself. In any event, get a decent chasing blade and trust in the best. 7. Stock up on disinfectant. Plague specialists wore odd veils with noses loaded up with herbs intended to decontaminate the air as they relaxed. This was on the grounds that they thought infection was spread through awful stenches. That thought has been disproven. Yet it gives us a genuine case of how to get ready yourself when a disease is airborne or spread through touch. Standard shopper items that slaughter most dangerous pathogens are modest and handily found. Load up on Blanche, which can sanitize anything, and as I referenced before, it can make water safe to drink. Hand cleanser is acceptable after all other options have been exhausted. Yet not when there's an awful bug noticeable all around. Get some hand sanitizer, and use it at whatever point you contact basic articles, or interact with others. On the off chance that you don't have any of that, liquor will murder most germs. However, it ought to be utilized as a last resort, if you choose to purchase a cutting-edge veil. Careful ones won't help against the coronavirus. You'll be needing a CBRN-grade full-face veil. These are substance, natural, radiological, and atomic safeguard rated. 6. Create a safe room and house. You're going to need to protect your home. And that implies you'll need to go to that trusty thing that has helped keep the US military running easily for a considerable length of time: conduit tape. It's anything but difficult to tear. Sticks to everything and will assist you with making sure about your home and keep the infection out. And keeping in mind that you're purchasing the tape. Get a lot of plastic drop cloths, if you figure shutting the front entryway and closing all the windows will keep the infection under control. Ask yourself, when was the last time a bug got in? In the event that arachnids and ants can discover their way into your home, so can an airborne disease, use the drop fabrics to cover each window and entryway, fixing them with conduit tape as you go. On the off chance that you have a chimney, close the pipe and seal that up as well. The exact opposite thing you have to do is set up an isolate room someplace in your home. This is the place you would put somebody who is giving indications of contamination to disengage him from the remainder of the group. 10 of human history's most horrifying plagues. 5. Prep your immune system. The main resistance our bodies have against a conceivably fatal disease is its insusceptible framework. The most ideal approach to keep yourself fit as a fiddle is to take everything from lysine and vitamin C to practicing regularly. You're going to need to store some medication. So get together as much as possible. Score a few antitoxins, and guarantee that any individual who needs insulin or an EpiPen has a prepared supply, if you have a remedy. Don't hold up until the last moment to fill it. Have at any rate a month's stock available, or you could encounter risky withdrawal side effects, particularly where antidepressants are concerned. Going without any weaning period on doctor-prescribed meds can wreck you quicker than the plague, so consistently ensure you have ample. Additionally, you ought to have cold medication, multivitamins, anti-infection balms, and an all-around loaded emergency treatment pack. All things considered, you would prefer not to endure the plague of the century and wind up biting the dust from a disease after you get a cut on your hand. 4. Create a bug-out bag. Probably the most punctual thing a legislature will do when there's an episode is to isolate the contaminated regions. This has occurred in Wuhan. And inside a generally brief time frame, in excess of 10 million individuals have been compelled to remain put, but while this was going on, outsiders who weren't tainted were emptied. On the off chance that something very similar happens where you may end up compelled to escape with next to zero notification. In these circumstances, it's in every case great to have a bug-out sack ready. A very much supplied pack needs all the things I've discussed on this rundown. Yet, only enough for a 72-hour period. You ought to likewise include a crisis radio, electric lamp, save batteries, waterproof matches, and a stone and steel. Remember garments and female cleanliness items too. While you can purchase bug-out packs from different spots on the web, most survivalists would concur you should stock your own dependent on your own needs and well-being requirements. You'll likewise need to keep a duplicate of your city's calamity plan in it, which can show safe approaches to go in an emergency. 3. Prepare for a barter economy. In the event that the episode clears out an enormous bit of the nearby populace, the survivors will be left to get the pieces. The entirety of that valuable money you escape the bank may not be a lot of good in the aftermath. You're going to need to take advantage of history and get familiar with the advantages of a trade economy. Everything in a post-pandemic circumstance will depend on exchange. No one is going to surrender their penicillin for a bar of gold or a wad of cash. Before Hitler and his National Communist gathering came to control in Germany, the country was managed by the Weimar Republic. The economy was a ruins, and the money at the time was fundamentally useless. Individuals went to an underground bargaining framework and it functioned admirably enough to prop things up. The equivalent is genuine right now in present-day Venezuela. The most ideal way you can get ready for this is to load up on a ton of unordinarily required things. This could be sterile salve, face veils, different sorts of medication, or whatever else individuals should endure a plague of immeasurable scope. Furthermore, remember, essentials, for example, bathroom tissue, will be in high demand. To get hold of some boredom busters. When an episode happens and spreads to your territory, you may wind up isolated for quite a while. In the event that the force has gone out, you can disregard viewing The Mandalorian or playing Fortnite, but that doesn't mean you need to leave fatigue or alone your defeat. Regardless of whether the force has gone out, there's still a great deal you can do to remain normal when the social influencer in your gathering understands that Instagram's gone and he needs some attention. Make sure you have bunches of books to peruse. Get an assortment of engaging titles. However, you ought to likewise keep some survivalist manuals close by also. No one can really tell when they may spare your life. Puzzle books and old educational committee games are likewise a great method to take a break. Fatigue may not murder you legitimately, yet it can make your life hopeless, so plan ahead. 1. Prepare for the worst. It's conceivable that somebody in your gathering will pass on. At the point where that occurs, their body will start to deteriorate very quickly. It will discharge put-away gases and fecal matter, and it can in any case spread disease. Ebola is particularly frightful where contamination from cadavers is concerned, because of the monstrous measure of blood included. Be that as it may, a body can be perilous regardless of whether demise was caused normally. It is basic that you don't contact the body without gloves and a mask. Disposing of a body is no simple errand. And on the off chance that you viewed our video on mind-boggling smells, you'll realize that the smell of consuming people isn't something you need to understanding. Rather than incineration, make like a Mexican medication cartel and break up the remains. Your best wager is to cover the body and spread it with lye. Snatch a scoop and burrow an opening roughly 6 feet down. Cautiously store the body and sprinkle a couple of cups of lye over it, and cover it with earth. Inside a generally brief time frame, it will annihilate everything except the bones and teeth. I'd prefer to call attention to that while this rundown is incompletely for diversion. It highlights an undeniable risk today. It would be ideal if you look into your city's catastrophe plan and ensure you're as ready as you can be. Pandemics and diseases don't for the most part give guidance ahead of time. Things are raising and this might be your lone opportunity to act good karma.